substantial positive effect on students to provide equal opportunities and other options for their future. I'll be addressing the claims in clarity as well as their supporting claims that don't strengthen her main claim of how students, of how giving students information to military recruiters could possibly provide equal opportunities in future careers. First off, the main claim is hard to understand based on the fact that we don't get any clarification on whether or not it's a positive effect on all high school students or just a particular group. For the first supporting claim, which was having access to personal info or information, provides students with other resources and information of other potential career pathways. She provides us with only facts that only offers us background information of these policies and does little to show connection between as to how these policies provided high school students with these equal opportunities and future career options. For example, the advocate uses the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, which requires high schools that receive federal funding to provide student contact information to the military recruiters when asked. She goes on to say that it provides equal opportunities in futures and career pathways, but never specifies what kinds. In fact, the military does offer these potentially strong careers, but they are limited to certain fields. This is cited in today's military.com, which is a military service website. It's also difficult to see the connection between the No Child Left Behind Act's requirement of recruiters being allowed students' personal information and how it provides students with career opportunities. This is due to her reasoning because she uses that to support a secondary claim. So it's just goes back. We don't learn anything new from it. She goes on by describing another policy that Congress passed in 1982 that allowed certain information of students to be collected and compiled, but does not continue with any reasoning behind it. So it's just stated out. In her secondary claim, she makes a hasty generalization of that it is helpful to those who are in junior ROTC by assuming that the junior ROTC group can be representative of the benefits for high school students, for all high school students. She supports, yes it does, but it's not representative of the whole, everyone in high school. She supports this by saying ROTC offers scholarships to pay for tuition for first-time freshmen and how enrollment jumped 5% in 2009 due to the 2008 National Defense Authorization Act. The evidence she cites is based from the USAtoday.com and is according to combined Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force statistics. Junior ROTC programs are partly funded by the Department of Defense, and the program itself has its own specific requirements for the instructors. It requires 2 instructors, 1 retired officer, and another non-commissioned officer to be paid a total of $100,000. The average teaching salary plus benefits is $50,000, so they earn more. And this information can be found in a community news press in Wyoming that was published in 2012. The school will have to dedicate a portion of its budget for the program, even though most federally funded schools are low in budget already. It cuts back from other programs and takes away from other opportunities available to the non-junior ROTC members. This goes against the main claim, which states it has a substantial positive effect on students to provide equal opportunity. In conclusion, the military does provide opportunities and career options, but these fields are limited and they are very selective in their decision for recruiting. So it's not an equal opportunity for all students in high school. As well, the No Child Left Behind Act already mandates that every publicly funded school must give out the personal information of high school students when asked. Military offers these opportunities to people, but they have certain standards that they look for if the students want it available to them. There isn't much clear links between the facts and that are presented and how it shows that providing these information of the students can open doors to career pathways and other opportunities, just only for junior ROTC students.
Well, structurally, things start off pretty well. You identify the main and the secondary claims. I do think you've got a legitimate challenge here on what the proposition really means. Is it an advantage to the schools? Is it an advantage to all students? Or is it limited to particular students? That's a good question to ask. It sounds like your claim ultimately is that it has an advantage, but only to limited particular groups. And I think that that's the way you want to go at this directly, suggesting that in fact that any benefits that occur are within a small group of people that probably would not have changed dramatically regardless of whether this other information was provided. It sounds like the 2008 law is different from the 2001 or 2002 No Child Left Behind, and that really has to do with making the JROTC available to people, and that's the one place where we got some quantification on what the difference was going to be. That was the one place where I thought maybe some recruiting numbers were applicable, and it really doesn't sound like it's connected to the access to the information so much as it is to that second issue that you were talking about. By the way, on that second issue, you argue that it's not representative because it's exceptional people, which I think is a legitimate claim. But then you start talking about the pay of the ROTC officers and so on and so forth. I think ultimately you do get to a claim here, but I think you want the claims to come first. And the claim here is that these policies actually divert resources away from the general population to only specific groups. That's the claim that you ultimately make. And I think that it would be clearer if you were not going at this kind of backing into the argument, but being much more direct and upfront about the argument. All right, thank you.